Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. If you've been watching television this year, there's a pretty good chance you've seen our guest today, Mary Steenburgen. Justified, Togetherness, Last Man on Earth, coming up in a couple of weeks, Orange is the New Black. Mary, I don't know how you found the time to visit us today, but welcome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Been a great year, hasn't it?
It's been an extraordinary year. I've had such a good time and worked with incredible people. And yeah, it's kind of crazy because I don't know if I expected this to happen at my age. I kind of thought I'd be out gardening somewhere, and it hasn't worked out that way.
Yeah, and that really was my experience of television this year. All these shows I watch, and then like in the middle of the season, or not with Justified, you started off with that, but it was just like, oh, Mary Steenburgen's on this show.
Yeah.
She's turning up,
Yeah.
It was like a great surprise. I guess you had to keep some secrets, didn't you?
I'm still keeping secrets. I've still got a couple of secrets to keep, but for the most part, I was doing these shows and people were saying, now don't talk about it, don't tell anyone you're on it. And so I was just kind of going to work each day and not even telling my friends what I was doing.
Yeah. Husband know?
The husband had to run lines, so he had to know what was going on. I was helping him with Fargo, and he was helping me with whichever show I was doing. The crazy thing is that I was doing Last Man on Earth and Justified at the same time. And so I would drive, this sounds like the Californians, that sketch, The Californians, but I would drive up the 405 and then have to figure out. One morning I thought, wait, do I go on the Ronald Reagan freeway left, or do I keep going on the 405 to the 5, depending on which set I was going to.
Or you get off on La Cienega.
La Cienega.
Take the shortcut. Yeah. So you were making both of those at the same.
I was. And the good thing was the characters were so different. Catherine Hale would have basically, probably shot the character on Last Man on Earth just not to have to deal with her.
Yeah.
And so they were so different that there wasn't really a confusion.
Yeah. Yeah, she would have been having fun with Phil Miller. I think she might have shot him too.
Yeah.
Because he could be a little bit of a button pusher.
That's true.
Yeah.
It didn't take much to push Catherine Hale's buttons.
Well, let's talk about her a little bit. I read that Graham Yost, the Justified creator, kind of thought you would be good for this part because you would see the humor in it.
That's what he said, because I talked to him on the phone, and I've played a lot of really nice people in my career, and I've long maintained that I'm not that nice, and that I could definitely handle a villain. Mm-hmm. And nobody really listened to me until somehow Graham Yost got it in his head. And I said, why did you think of me? And he said, because I knew that you would understand the humor, Elmore Leonard's humor. And I loved that. And I did think it was such a beautiful place to work and such a strange, wonderful tone to play in, because you don't play it for laughs, but he is wickedly funny. And all those writers on that show were so gifted and so understood how to write in that tone that he established.
Yeah. And, a lot of the situations are kind of skew a little crazy, but the show never, they were always believable,
I just
loved.
You
always buy into that reality.
Yeah. I just loved that I got to shoot a man through my purse, look at him, decide he wasn't quite dead, shoot him again, and then step over him and go over and pick up a phone and ask someone in French to come clean it all up. It was like there were so many quirky, strange, and wonderful twists and turns in it. And most importantly, these wonderful actors had created these extraordinary characters and created a world in which you, as you said, you accepted, you accepted what they had laid out, what they and the writers, and a lot of that's a tribute to just the strength of that cast. But in the end, the writing was just spectacular on this show. I used to get the scripts at night and just, stay up late to read what the next script was, because it was so much fun to just read it.
And you're like, Catherine speaks French? Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
Did you know, I mean, Justified's never been, precious about killing off characters. Did you know that Catherine was going to be not survive the entire season?
I did know that, and when I agreed to do it, I said, could I ask for a spectacular death? And it's kind of like, be careful what you ask for, because it was spectacular and intense and physical. And John Avnet directed that episode and was just wonderful. And they definitely delivered on their end of the bargain.
I imagine filming that in that, it takes place in a Winnebago. Was it shot like in a...
It was in a Winnebago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really was in a Winnebago. And it was intense in there. And it was, a day's work devoted to that scene, and incredible stunt people who did some of it. And some of it was me and Jerry Burns. And we all, knuckled down and tried to fulfill what Graham and the guys had written.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine a lot of rehearsal because of the choreography involved.
Well, it was at times downright dangerous. So yes, there was some rehearsal.
Yeah, but I guess Catherine, I mean, she should have known. She didn't know that much about Wynn Duffy, but Wynn Duffy never is going to die on that show, right?
He's a cockroach. He has to live. The last to go.
So she shouldn't have gotten that close to him.
No, that was a mistake. And also, I think she made the fatal error of focusing too much on revenge. And ultimately, some of it was about loyalty to her late husband, and some of it was the sorrow of a woman who'd been raised with nothing, and for one brief period of her life had felt that she was important, that she was married to someone that that sort of elevated her stature in the world, and that people in a dumb little jewelry store would offer her a glass of champagne when she walked in. And those kinds of things were part of her hunger, to be better than she was.
Right. And that was kind of that revenge, that desire for revenge kind of overrode everything else. I mean, she and Avery, Sam Elliott's character, I mean, you guys, I think you called Avery the love of Catherine's life.
I think he was. I mean, as far as who she really loved, and if she'd been as smart as she should have been, she had it all, in just having him, and they would have been amazing partners. But she couldn't let go of her need for revenge.
Yeah, I mean, there was that great, I can't remember the exact line, but, it's like, well, we could be really great together, but we're not going to ever, trust each other.
I know what it is, because it was such a great line. I think I can say it. He said, he says something like, "I love you, Catherine, but I could never trust you." And I say, well, would it be so bad, Avery, if we just live together for the rest of our lives, not trusting each other, just like everybody else? And it was such a great line.
That spice in a relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
Yeah. Now, I so very different. While you're making Justified, you're going over to, I guess, Chatsworth, right?
You got it. Yeah, that's where Last Man on Earth was, in our strange little imaginary world.
And you've done some comedy before. I understand, though, that you're an easy one to break on.
Well, I proved that on Step Brothers, where they actually had to use takes of me that show me laughing. And I asked I asked Adam McKay, now, why did you choose that particular take? Because Adam, you can actually full on see that I'm laughing. And he said, we don't have a take that you're not laughing. So I kind of disgraced myself there, and I'm continuing my disgrace on Last Man on Earth. Literally, there are shots that are on Will Forte, and it's an over the shoulder, and you can see my shoulder shaking. And they said, we don't have an alternative. And it's a thing. I mean, it's just a thing. I honestly do try to control it. I sound like I'm pleased with myself about it.
Yeah.
I actually on the day try to control it because there's a whole crew of people that probably don't find it terribly amusing. But I think it's what I do with my nerves or something. And also, have you noticed how funny Will Forte is? I mean, it's really, and Kristen Shaw, and it's just, it's hard to be me.
See, I've seen Step Brothers like a lot.
You look and you'll see
one of those. But I always thought that was a character choice of yours.
No,
you know?
I've been
You're just
told,
amused by your boy.
supposedly there's a drinking game that involves taking a shot every time you can see that I'm inappropriately laughing.
And so you're just going to be wasted after.
Well, I'm not playing the game.
Half hour.
I'm not playing the game.
You know.
I know. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to go back and watch that for the 8th time or whatever. But
you'll see them.
So this song, I mean, you're like the first one to go then.
Oh, 100% the first one to go.
Yeah.
I'm the oldest person on this set and the worst behaved.
And isn't Forte like famous for?
No, he doesn't go.
Too.
No,
yeah.
Neither of them broke up once. January Jones will go after I go. So she'll come in, she'll let me beat the bad guy, and then she will get tickled right after me. I did notice that. And so I'm going to corrupt her this season and make her be the bad girl, be worse than me.
So when Last Man on Earth ended first season, you see kind of Phil and Carol, Will Forte and Kristen Shaw's character, like maybe they're going to go off someplace.
He sings a song to her that I actually wrote.
That's what.
And then they go off together, and I have no idea what happens next. I can't wait.
But you know you're going to be back.
I know that I have a job next year, so I guess unless they want to just pay me to stay home, but that'd be silly.
Well, let's go back to your songwriting here. I mean, so that song, it's a very touching song that Phil sings to Carol. She doesn't really believe in, why would she believe anything that comes out of Phil's mouth? But she doesn't really believe that Phil actually wrote a song. Right. So he sings it for her. And this is a song that you wrote. How did that come about?
Well, I wrote it with a wonderful singer-songwriter named Katie Herzig, and we actually adjusted the song a little bit to fit the nicknames and things that are on Last Man on Earth. I write music for Universal Music Publishing Group. I started writing music about 9 years ago. It's a long, strange story, but it is to say it's a compulsion would probably be a good way to describe it. It's just something that's very important to me and that I've grown in and been a student of and worked hard at, really hard at. And so I write in Nashville I try to get there once every 6 weeks or so.
Really?
And Nashville is just a wonderful town that's really kind of a city of poets. It's people that take songwriting very seriously, and you have to prove yourself there. And I had to, start from the humble place of being a beginner at something. And it was important enough to me to go for that. And so I started writing there some years ago, and now I just am so honored to write with incredible people. I just got through writing a piece for the little movie I'm about to do, and that's just a joy in my life.
So you're writing the music?
Well,
are you writing?
We do both. I mean, in the way it usually works in Nashville is everybody does both. And
what are you writing on? What instrument?
Well, I don't always write on an instrument. I'll sing what I hear in my head, but I've taught myself in the last few years to play the accordion, which I play a little bit on Last Man on Earth, and have really started on the piano, which I played a little bit as a child and then dropped it. And then I'm trying to learn the ukulele, but
my daughter wants to do that this summer.
yeah. So,
but I mean, and I love the story we were just talking before, the camera came on here about. I mean, you keep this accordion at the ready. It was in your car.
Well, the accordion was in my car because I was rehearsing for a live performance of something, and so it was in the car. And and on Last Man on Earth, it was the divorce party, and they were saying, I overheard the producers saying, I wish we had some way of playing some sad music for the divorce party. And I said, well, what sad music would you play? And they said, well, we would play something like the Death March. And I said, you mean like da 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 da? And they said, yeah, that. And so I said, well, I have my accordion in the car. And they said, wait.
Because those words aren't often heard.
So first of all, you play an accordion. And I went, well, I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but I'm passionate about it. And so they said, and it's in your car. And I said, yes. And so then, a couple of hours later, that's what I'm doing. I'm playing I whip it out. I like turn around and pull it out and start playing by the campfire. And that's one of the things I love about Last Man on Earth is that it's just so spontaneous.
I'm just bummed that I'm looking around. There's no
we don't
accordion
have a
here.
squeeze box.
Yeah. Yeah. And so there's 2 shows. Togetherness, I think first saw you on HBO, this HBO comedy. I think you were covered with
I was
leaves.
practicing my death.
Connecting with your death.
I'm connecting with my death. I'm lying under layers of leaves and twigs, and Mark Duplass is just out for a walk and kind of sees an arm and thinks he stumbled across a dead body, but in fact, I'm quite alive.
That's a great entrance, isn't it?
It was a wonderful entrance. It was a fun character. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, was that character pretty much on the page, or did you draw any inspiration?
They're
kind of
so creative.
Yeah.
They're very creative, and they, I hope I added to it, but I think they really knew what they wanted. And
yeah. Seems like a very LA. You mentioned Californians. It seems like a character you might even see on the Californians, perhaps.
Yeah, and not unlike
She's
aspects of myself, I have to say. There's definitely a hippie in there. I haven't forgotten my hippie self.
So a little bit of Mary in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Just that
in
hippie.
all of them,
Yeah.
in all of them, even good old Catherine. I mean, I try to live appropriately, but I did understand her
The choices
way too well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And coming up in like a couple of weeks, Orange is the New Black. I guess that's one of the secrets that you alluded to
That's
earlier.
the one I still can't talk about.
You mentioned a couple. I'm trying to figure out what the other one is.
No, I think now.
Now we're just down to the one.
Yeah, down to one.
But the word is out that you're playing Pornstash's mother.
I will neither confirm nor deny that.
So you're not going to say whether
For the LA Times, you guys must have the most up-to-date info. I don't have to.
Well,
I don't have to do it for you.
But I was so asking whether or not Mom approves of the mustache. You're going to be able to. You're not going to be able to say.
I'm
We're
not
gonna have
going to
to
be
wait
able
and
to
see.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple episodes.
I did make Ted Danson shave his Fargo beard, though.
Yeah.
He had a beard for Fargo. It's gone.
I haven't seen that.
Well, it's coming up.
Yeah. How
just wrapped, actually.
How much of a beard are we talking? Because beards these days are
it
like
was
crazy
intense.
long.
It wasn't. Well, no, not crazy long. It was
Not ZZ Top.
No.
But
I did work with them in Back to the Future 3. That was cool.
Yeah.
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 Just a little segue there. Sorry.
Part of your musical education.
I try to keep my brain going
Yeah.
in a linear fashion, but now and then it just,
So he had a beard, and
He had a beard.
the minute he rapped,
It's
that
gone.
was it.
yeah. I missed his face, but I have to say he did look, I kept saying, you look like, a rugged sea captain. And he did, the white beard and the white hair. He looked really good, but it's gone.
Yeah, it was something to have and savor
And say goodbye to.
for a time. But then,
Yes.
yes, all things must end, right?
Yes.
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Same to you.
I
It's
can't
fun.
imagine what, I'll look forward to the Orange is the New Black. And
I will come spill the beans on it after it comes out.
when you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did a good job of keeping the secrets.
Sort of good.
On the other,
Yeah.
on the other shows. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had no idea.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
But
And
maybe-
you're the LA Times.
Well, I liked it, but you know, we live in this time where like people want to know. I'm one of those people. I don't even like to watch movie trailers. I don't want to know. I want to go in kind of blind.
I am
Yeah.
with you. I feel like you know, there is it's pretty cool, the information age, and I do look up 25,000 things every day that are random facts I would have had to have driven to a library for before, and it probably wouldn't have been there anyway. And I still don't take that for granted. But there is a point where I think you can have information overload.
Yeah.
Especially with movies.
Yeah. Discovery is a great
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And for more of these conversations, please go to latimes.com. And thanks for watching.